No, because she didn't go to King.
Please be seated. Call your next witness. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm your testimony in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, sir.
Sergeant McNabb, we heard from you yesterday or the day before about your review of the site where Nicole's body was found.
Yes.
As part of your investigation, did you also take part in a search of the car, her Jetta, once it had been recovered?
I did.
And do you remember the date that that search took place?
February 24th.
Of 2006?
That's correct.
Now, her car, we've heard testimony, had been found 2 days before. I'm going to show you a photo from Exhibit 39 that's already in evidence. It shows the tow truck taking away from
Yes.
the parking lot. Tell us how that works. How does the sheriff's office arrange for a car to get taken to be searched in a way that keeps it secure?
Well, I'm sure that the vehicle was flagged in Wausek, which means if any police officer ran it, would come up with a hit to a missing person. And I'm sure that we were notified by the University of Washington Police. We would send a deputy to the scene. They would secure the vehicle and mark each door and window with a little evidence sticker.
Okay, we heard testimony yesterday
Yeah.
about this. Is that?
That's it. Yeah, one of our evidence stickers, it appears to be.
Okay, we'll see a close-up of that in a minute.
So they seal the car with the evidence stickers and they initial all the seams to it. The tow truck hooks up the vehicle and they then take it to the impound yard with the deputy following it. And when they get to the impound yard, they usually back it into a stall, a covered storage area, and then lock the gate.
Okay, how, where is the impound yard located?
Well, individual tow companies use their own facility.
Okay, in this particular case, was the Jetta kept undercover
Yes,
at the impound yard, and where was it kept?
it was at Gerber Towing.
Now, the purpose of the seals, again, is for what?
To make sure that nothing gets tampered with.
When you go to search a car, and in this particular case, this car, what sorts of things are you looking for?
Any type of clues, trace evidence, fingerprints.
Okay. And how does it work in terms of what order various people involved go into the car? Are you the only one there?
Depends on the circumstances of the case. Sometimes it's just detectives.
Okay. And in this case, were you the only person there?
No.
Who else was there?
In this case, we had 2 people from the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab and 2 people from the APHIS unit.
Okay. What's the APHIS unit?
Fingerprint.
Okay. Why did you call them in?
It was a missing person case, and it was high profile, and I wanted their expertise in processing the vehicle.
Okay. Now, for clarity, this was after Nicole's body had been found. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. When you arrived at the impound yard, was anyone there already?
I believe I was the first one there.
Okay. And did you have contact with Kim Duddy from the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know how she had accessed the garage?
It was a snowy day. Gerber Towing, the front is on Aurora Avenue, but the back is kind of down an alley. So I was out front waiting for everybody to arrive. Not everybody had arrived on scene yet. So Kim Duddy was in the back. She had already arrived with Malcolm Chang, who's one of our, the videographer in this case.
Okay. And is he the one that took the video of the body scene yesterday? as well?
Yes, I believe so.
So did he video this scene
Yes, he did.
during the search?
Yes.
How long did the search last?
I was there for a good 10 and a half hours.
Wow. Well, when you got there, had the car itself been opened? Had the seals been broken?
When I got there initially, the garage was still sealed, so nobody had entered the garage or the vehicle.
Okay. Can you describe what the outside of the car looked like in terms of condition? Was it clean, dirty,
It
dented?
appears, from what I remember, it appears fairly clean, yes.
So what's the first thing that happens to start the search? Does something happen on the outside of the car before they go in?
Well, we always take photographs and videotape it first.
Okay. And then with regard to the lab or the print people, do they do anything before the seals are breached?
In this case, they checked the exterior using an alternate light source to see if they could see any fingerprints on the outside of the vehicle.
What's an alternate light source?
It's a different length of light waves that will illuminate fingerprints that are not visible to the naked eye.
Then the seals on this car, did they, when you looked at them, appear to be tampered with in any way?
No,
Had they been broken?
no.
Who actually broke them?
I believe it was the crime lab.
Then once the seals were broken, who went into the car first?
The crime lab did the initial once-over of the vehicle.
Okay. And what were you doing while they were doing their work?
Standing there watching.
Then after the crime lab people are in there, who goes in next?
This was it was a tight scene, so we kind of worked together. The APHIS personnel can often take an item and fingerprint it elsewhere, so they don't really need to be in there. So I think they came in and pointed out items to me that they wanted to fingerprint, and then I moved in and collected other evidence from the vehicle.
Okay, and we'll see a little bit in the video, but what do you mean by a tight scene
The garage was narrow. You couldn't open both sides of the vehicle
at the same time?
at the same time, yes.
Okay. So was the car positioned on something to allow it to be moved so that there could be access?
Little rolling dollies, all the wheels were on little dollies so you could push it from one side to the other.
Okay. Were you able to check the mileage on the car?
I did, yes.
And at what point in the search did that come?
It was after I found a receipt.
We'll talk about that in a second. To do that, did you have to turn the car on?
I don't believe so, no.
Why does it take 10 hours to search a car?
Being very detailed. It was a homicide scene. We want to make sure we collected all the relevant evidence from the car.
Okay. Can I get the... Detective, when Detective Chang videos the scene, what is it that you're hoping to accomplish by that?
Just an accurate representation of what the vehicle looks like, or the scene looks like.
And have you had a chance to review that video?
I've seen it, yes.
Okay, does it accurately reflect what happened that day during the search?
Yes.
Now, we're not going to watch all 10 hours, but we will watch expert SERPs, and I would like you to tell us what we're looking at.
Plan to mark this?
That's what we're doing right now. It's already in the computer, so we're trying to, there we go. Okay. The disk itself is in the computer with the court's permission and what.
State's Exhibit 47.
And this video is provided in discovery, so I'd like to offer it.
No objection.
With
Okay, Detective. Is this the narrowness that you're talking about?
Yes.
On the rear side of the car?
Yes, he's probably standing outside the garage at that point, filming into it.
Sorry.
Sorry, can you leave it a little bit more towards us? Yes, thank you.
Can everybody see it? Okay, we're going to turn the lights on. Yes, please. Thanks, Terry. There. That's better. Okay. Okay, what is that showing?
It says he's starting the initial walkthrough. He's filling the side of the vehicle. That's the driver's side.
And what is that?
It's one of the evident tape steals. That's a close-up of the seal.
Okay. And if the seal had been tampered with in some way, would you be able to tell?
It would be ripped in half if he actually opened the trunk or the door.
And it's actually covered with tape as
Yeah,
well?
they put tape over it, yes.
So in this case, were all the doors marked with seals?
Yes. Looks like he's taking an overview of the passenger side of the vehicle now.
This is obviously before the lab has gone in, is that right?
I think the lab, they were checking the vehicle for prints at this time. Or at least do an initial scan of the vehicle.
On the outside?
On the outside, yes. That's one of the state lab workers here, using a flashlight to detect the car. You can see one of the dollies down there on the tires.
Okay, and that allows it to move?
You can move it left and right and just slide it around. You can see it just circled the vehicle now, so he worked all the way around the passenger side, now he's coming back to the front side, or the driver's side.
Probably going to have trouble getting past the mirror, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's a,
It
what?
appears to be a parking permit for singular. That's the vehicle identification number. He's just working his way around as he makes sure that all those seals are still intact.
Now when you see the car in the window, does it look clean to you?
Looks like it has a little bit of dust and dirt on it. That's a pan through the back rear window of the vehicle.
So that's an overview of the car.
Yes.
Okay, let's move forward. And again, is that the dolly that you were referencing?
Yes, that's one of the dollars.
Okay.
And then we are pushing the car to one side so we can get in.
Is that you?
That is me, yes. Confirming that they want to start on the driver's side, I think.
So when the tow trucks are bringing the car, does it do anything to affect the mileage? Or do they transport it in such a way that it doesn't?
It shouldn't affect the mileage.
Okay, what's happening there?
That's the crime lab. They're taking swabs of the door handles of the vehicle so they can check later for DNA.
Okay, and what's that?
Looks like the state crime lab breaking the seal of the door. Once again, breaking all the seals. Oftentimes it's sealed on multiple areas. So before they process, they're going to take an initial video and photographs of the car.
I want you to pay particular attention to the position of the seat, if you would, when it shows that, and maybe in the next segment. Can we pause it there? Was that your recollection of the position of the seat when the car was opened?
Yes.
Okay, and so far as you know, based on the ceiling and the typical things that are done at the scene, had anyone touched the car from the point it was found?
No.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, let's go ahead to the next one. Are those lab people?
Yeah, those are the two people from the state crime lab. So they've entered the rear passenger area of the car from the driver's side. Or they've opened the door.
Could you pause right there, please? Between the front seat and the back seat, how much space, having seen it, would you say is left there? Seat in that position.
Kind of a hard angle to judge. It doesn't look like much. Under a foot, maybe?
Okay, go ahead. Okay, let's go.
So this is, just looks like a close-up shot of the rear passenger floorboard.
Hey, could you pause it right, let's back up, sorry. Could we back up just a few seconds? Are we able to do that? Okay.
It didn't back up.
Okay, that's okay. I'll just ask you this question. Could we pause for a second? Did you notice anything unusual about the headrest?
The headrest on the driver's side was cantered forward.
Okay, so by cantered, you mean,
The top of it was pointed towards the front of the car. It wasn't straight up and down like you find most headrests.
okay, sorry, go ahead. Okay.
Now they've broken the seals to the trunk and they're going to open up the trunk of the vehicle.
So at this point, while the lab is doing all this, you have not yet been in the car to take anything out, is that right?
I don't believe at this point I have, no. And just, once again, Detective Chang is taking a close-up of the interior of the trunk.
Okay. And then our final one, the passenger side, the front car. Okay. You see that. Once you did go inside, handing you what's been admitted into evidence as States Exhibits 11 and 12. We can raise the lights again, thank you. Are those your initials on those packets?
Yes, they are.
Okay, could you look inside? We know that they're Les Schwab receipt and inventory. Since those are your initials, I presume that you're the one that packaged them, is that correct?
That is correct.
Where did you find those?
They were in the passenger side door in the little mat pocket.
Those look to be what you took.
Yes. You want them back in the envelopes?
Basically, 48.
And you what's been marked State Exhibit 48. Now, in the course of this search, was it your job to basically collect the physical evidence and then package it?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Are there still scissors up there?
Yes, I should say.
Okay. Could you, first of all, take a look at that package, tell us if you recognize it?
Yes.
How do you recognize it?
Well, it has my initials all over it.
Okay. What does that mean?
Whenever you seal evidence, you always initial all the seams of the tape to make sure nobody else has opened it.
Does it appear to be in the same, substantially the same condition as when you sealed it?
Well, it's been opened, but yes.
Okay. And opened and resealed?
Yes.
And do you recognize the initials of the person who opened it?
One is Mike Mellis.
Who is that?
He's a detective that works in the Major Crimes Unit.
Okay. Go ahead and cut it open if you would, please. Do you recognize the contents?
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
It's a name,
Not to show yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
it's a name tag to 24-hour fitness.
And where did you find that?
I found it was in between the front seat and the center console.
It's stuck down in between them?
Yes.
Now, you said another detective that entered that package. Does that frequently happen with regard to evidence?
Yes.
Where is evidence kept once you've taken it and sealed it? Where do you take it?
We have an evidence room in our office that we put it in, and after that point, it's transported down to our property management unit.
Okay, and is that where it stays until it's needed?
Yes.
And what might be reasons that another detective would open it?
Well, to re-examine it, to see if there's something that was missed, to have it tested at the lab. There's many reasons why it could be open.
And then that person reinitialed it
Yes.
to show that it hasn't been tampered with beyond that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And does that appear to be the case with that?
Yes.
So it offer 48.
Objection.
Removed.
Any public? At some point, did you actually remove an interior part of the car at APHIS request?
It was at the request of Detective Decker, but yes.
Okay, and what part was that?
We went back out to the vehicle after it had been moved to our storage facility.
Okay, I'm sorry, Detective, I'm going to draw you back to still that initial search with regard to the interior door locks.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
That's okay. Tell us about that.
The State Crime Lab has requested, or APHIS has requested that I actually remove the interior door handles from the driver and the rear door on the driver's side.
And why was that?
They thought they had some fingerprints that they were going to be able to lift from there, and they wanted it taken to the lab.
Okay. When the APHIS people went into the car, weren't they able just to dust them and lift them like on TV?
Yeah, they could on the many flat surfaces, yes, but when you're dealing with a tiny one or at an odd angle, it's often better to have it taken to the lab so they can do it in a better set of circumstances.
Okay. Then at some point later, did you obtain another search warrant for the car?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And was that to remove something else from it?
Yes.
Do you remember when that was?
It was on March 22nd, I believe, of 2006.
Okay. And why was it that you needed to go back and take something out?
Twofold. Detective Decker had requested that we remove the driver's seat and the steering wheel from the car. And then we also were going to take the gear shift knob so it could be re-examined for prints.
Okay. Was there some sort of special print process that was going to be used?
Yes. It was called vacuum metal.
What's so special about that?
Not an expert in this. They put the item into some sort of vault, and they shoot tiny metallic particles at it, and it's supposed to adhere better to fingerprints.
So, again, the items that you took out were what was it?
We took out the driver's seat and the gear shift knob.
Okay. And let me,
State Exhibit 49.
can I ask you State's Exhibit 49? Does appear to be packaging of the gear shift knob that you just referenced.
Yes.
And do you recognize the initials of the detective who packaged that?
Well, my initials are on it.
Okay. Anybody else's?
Looks like Raphael Crenshaw.
And who is he?
He is a detective that worked with me in major crimes.
Okay, and was he working on this case as well?
Yes.
Okay, where did this second entry of the car take place?
We have a storage facility out in the Renton area of King County.
Okay. And had it been taken there from the initial garage where the search happened?
Yes.
Okay. Recognizing Detective Crenshaw's initials and your own initials, does that package appear to have been tampered with in any way other than examination by the lab?
No.
Okay. Is that 49? That was just 49. I would offer 49.
No objection.
Go ahead and put that open. Okay.
Well, it's a medium. Ribs or shreds.
Just get the fingers.
Okay. Okay, I think that one works.
Okay, do you recognize that?
Yes.
What is that?
It's the gear shift mount.
Okay, and again, that was to go where?
I don't know if this one was going to be re-examined by our own APHIS or go to vacuum metal.
Okay, but something for fingerprints.
Yes.
May I publish? I won't take it out. Did you have somebody there that knew how to take one of these off?
No, I was just the detective.
You just winged it?
Yes.
Counsel, can I see that?
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Now, I asked you earlier, and I sort of cut you off before you could answer, if you checked the mileage on the odometer of the car?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And your recollection is that you did not turn the car on?
I did turn the car on, yes, not at that time.
Okay. When did you turn the car on?
Towards the very end of it, I found a key for the car inside the center console.
Okay. And why did you turn it on?
See if it was working, to check to see if the wiper blades were on, just to see normal conditions.
And what happened when you turned it on?
Well, the wiper blades were on, and there was like a water hazard light that came on.
And how was the gas level?
It looked very low.
Now, just so we can keep it straight, because it involves arithmetic, can you tell us what the odometer reading was on the car when you checked it?
44451, 44,451.
44451. Okay. And then on the Les Schwab receipt, what was the mileage that they had recorded?
44,384.
Did you do the math on that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Neither of us are mathematicians. What did you come up with?
It should be 67 miles.
So you took that to mean from the time of the Les Schwab tire change to the time of the car recovery, it had been driven 67 miles.
That's correct.
But I had just a moment. I have nothing else. Thank you.
Russ?
Sergeant McNabb, you found some other sports items in the back of the car, is that correct?
Oh, yes.
There was a baseball mitt, wasn't there?
Yep.
There was like a pickleball paddle, right?
Yep.
There was some other sports equipment in the back.
Yeah, leave some softballs.
Okay. There were some men's golf shoes,
Yes.
size 11.
Yes.
At one point, didn't you have to reposition the seat of the Jetta?
Yes.
Okay. That was later in March.
That was in March, yes, correct.
Okay. Because it had been moved at some point?
Yes.
Okay. And why it had been moved?
I'm guessing it was moved during the end search at the original location.
Okay. Do you know for sure why the seat had been moved?
No,
Okay. You just knew that it was different. You had to move it back to some other position.
that is correct.
Okay. I don't have any other questions, John.
Just to clarify, Detective, when the car was open to be searched, was the seat in place?
Yes.
Was it moved during the search?
It was probably moved at the latter end of that search, yes.
But do you know that for sure?
Well, I know it was different when we got into it at Lake Young's.
Okay. Lake Young's was search 3 months later, or 2 months later,
A
right?
month later, March
A month later.
22nd, yeah.
Okay. So whose responsibility is it to take measurements in the car from the lab? Or who would it have been that day?
In this case, it was State Patrol, I believe.
Okay. And that was Kim Duddy that we referenced before?
Yes.
Okay. And they typically take measurements of the seat positions?
Yes.
Okay. And so far as you know, you did not see the seat moved during the search?
No.
Okay. What we saw in the video in terms of the positioning of the seat, is that what it looked like when the car was opened?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Thank you. I have nothing else.
Nothing else, Your Honor.
You may step in.
State Police Kim Duddy.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm your testimony in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Proceed.
All right, can I have just half a second? Could you tell us your name and spell your last name, please?
My name is Kim Duddy. Last name is spelled C-U-D-D-Y.
And what is your occupation?
I am self-employed.
What do you do for a living?
I do a variety of different things. One of my main areas of work is I do private consulting, forensic consulting, and forensic education. I also am a licensed real estate broker and house sit people's homes
Okay.
and animals.
Tell us a little bit about your background in training and education.
I have a bachelor's degree in geology and a master's degree in forensic science. I also received a lot of forensic training in my employee years with the Washington State Patrol Crime Laboratory, and continue that with reading and attending national training conferences.
Okay, how long were you with the How long were you with the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab?
Almost 22 years.
And what was your job there? What sorts of things did you do?
Employed as a forensic scientist, was assigned to several different functional areas within the lab. Was in the chemistry section, the biochemistry section, way back when, before it was DNA, and most of my tenure there was in the trace evidence section. I was also a member of the crime scene response team.
Okay, and what did the crime scene response team do?
Crime scene response team would be called out by agencies to assist in a case, usually mostly homicides or aggravated assaults, in documenting, collecting, and analyzing evidence, and sometimes scene reconstructions.
As part of your background and training, did you learn the proper way to collect evidence and how to preserve a scene and preserve evidence so that it can be tested later?
Yes, I did have that training, and also provided that training to our user agencies.
Have you also done crime scene reconstruction?
Yes, I have.
And what is that?
Crime scene reconstruction is taking all the pieces of what we call the puzzle. It's done after a scene is investigated, evidence is collected and analyzed. So it's taking the information from the scene itself, looking at all the photos or video, using the reports, scientific reports from crime lab authors, medical examiners, the detectives, other potential investigators within the scene and the case, and taking that, and based on what the physical evidence is, putting the pieces of the puzzle back together to answer the question of what happened or where were people located.
Okay. When you left the crime lab, did you affiliate with a private consulting organization that does forensic work?
Yes, I am an associate with Bevel Gardner Associates, which is a company that does forensic consulting and education.
And as part of your job, do you live in this area?
Yes, I do.
Do you do all your work in this area?
No, most of my work seems to be out of state.
Okay. And for what sorts of places do you do work? What types of places?
It varies for the consulting part for casework, either with a public defender or a prosecutor's office in other states, and for the education part, teaching classes, that can be for a variety of different organizations or law enforcement agencies that are requiring the education.
And that's all to do with forensics?
Yes,
Okay.
crime scene reconstruction and blood stain pattern analysis and shooting incident reconstruction are the three main areas that I'm instructed.
Okay. So just so we know the definition of the term, when we say forensics, what are we talking about? What does that mean?
Forensic science generally is utilizing physical evidence, the physical sciences, to analyze and investigate items of evidence, whatever, to take that information forward to a trier of fact.
Now, in February of 2006, were you employed by the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab at that time?
Yes, I was.
And did you participate in the search of a car that belonged to Nicole Pietz?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about what your role was there? We've seen excerpts of video from the search itself, but what did you do? Were you the lead person for the lab? What were you to do?
We received a call to the lab from the King County Sheriff's Office to assist in the search of the vehicle. And for the crime lab part of the responsibility, I was the lead on that investigating the car. Another scientist from the lab was with me to assist. And there were also people there from King County Layton's lab as well as the Sheriff's Office.
Okay, and the Layton's lab is the fingerprint lab?
Correct.
Okay. So when you were there to help with the search of the car, what sorts of things were you looking for?
Not knowing exactly, when we go to look at vehicles, and in this case was asked to look for any particular kinds of trace evidence, blood, any other evidence that may assist in answering the questions of, where was this car utilized in the disposal of Ms. Pete's body, or where was it involved in the scene or the crime at all.
Okay. Beyond that sort of generalized information about the case, did you know anything about the case or specifics about it?
Usually we require what we call like a brief case history of what happened. It really assists us, the forensic scientists, in determining what can be the most important evidence to look for and prioritize what we would look for and collect. So what I can recall from this case in particular is that the car was found in a private parking lot somewhere, had been there for some period of time, I think had been tagged for removal or something, and that this Pete's body was found outdoors somewhere, I think the beginning of February of 2006.
So when you first took a look at the car, can you describe what it looked like on the outside to you?
Remember that the car was in very good condition, but that it had like a layer of dirt, dust on it, and was also rain spattered, like rain spots on it that had dried.
Okay. Now in the video we saw swabbings being taken from the doors on the outside. Is that typically done?
Yes, and depending on the case, you're looking either for potential blood evidence as well as cellular DNA material for what we used to call handler DNA of somebody that would touch with their bare hands, different surfaces of the car. So working in conjunction with the fingerprint people, we were swabbing different areas of the car that would not leave them any identifiable fingerprints, but could give us DNA evidence potentially, as well as looking for latent blood.
Now, how can you swab something and not destroy the fingerprint? Do you do everything with that in mind, or how do you make the decision how hard you're going to have to swab something and potentially destroy that evidence?
That's why we work in conjunction with the latents people and looking at the different surfaces of, could it yield potential identifiable latents? If so, they would process that area first. Because once you swab an area for cellular DNA, I mean, we're really rubbing and moving the swab around, that would most likely destroy any latent print that was there.
Okay, so the print people a lot of times do the work first if they think there's potential of lifting a print there.
Yes.
And does that make it difficult then for you to lift DNA if there's fingerprint powder or something like that on it?
No, fingerprint powder does not interfere with the testing for DNA.
Okay, what about something called super glue? Does that have an effect on the DNA collection?
No, it does not.
Okay, and super glue, can you just tell us real basically what that is?
Super glue, if that's the generic term, it is cyanoacrylate, and it's just attaches to, I believe, the fatty acids that's on our skin and then in our fingerprints, and kind of like solidifies the print that's there and makes it become visible and also much easier to lift for the latents people.
Okay, and so when the latents people do that, in what form do they use the super glue? I mean, do they take a tube and squeeze it out, or how do they do it?
Probably would be the cheapest
That
way,
would.
but there are different ways. I don't recall what method was used for this car, but there's different potentials of where you actually can squeeze a little bit out of the tube and heat up whatever. But then there's also a wand, a fuming wand, that has the super glue in it, and or packets that can be opened up and laid out. And I don't recall which method. I think it may have been the packets that you open up, and when you open up, starts the reaction. So you seal up the car, open up looks like a big foil, and then that allows the vapors and fumes to get on the surfaces inside the car.
Okay. Can you describe the car inside overall? Just your initial impression looking at it.
Like I mentioned, the car was in good shape, and the interior, I think it was different shades of gray in color, and some of the surfaces had a lot of adhering hair on and food particles and dirt, so it was not a very dirty car, but it definitely was used.
Okay, so typical of a used car.
Yes.
Okay. Did you notice anything about the front driver's seat or headrest that struck you as unusual?
The one part that I did note is that the headrest, instead of being what I would call in a normal position to support the back of your head, was actually almost at a forward at almost a 90-degree angle. So the body of the headrest was actually leaning really forward.
How about the seat?
Very odd.
Sorry, what about the driver's seat itself?
It was, back. It wasn't real close to steering wheel. It was further back in its adjustability.
Okay. When you are involved in a search like this, do you do something to memorialize the distance of the seat from the gas pedal and the brake pedal?
Not in all cases. It would depend if there was a question. In this case, the car reportedly belonged to the victim and would find out if the stature of the victim. And in this case, she was of smaller stature. So in seeing that the car seat was back as far as it was, it seemed that would be kind of, if she was the last one to drive the vehicle, that'd be hard for her to touch the pedals. In consort, if the victim was very tall or larger stature and the seat was really close to the steering wheel, would likely indicate that maybe that they weren't the last ones driving. So in those cases where that occurred, we would measure the distance of the seat from the firewall and from the accelerator brake pedal.
What's the firewall?
Firewall is the part of the car that's beyond where the brake pedal and accelerator are.
Okay. Below the dashboard?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember the measurements just off the top of your head?
No, I don't have to refer to my notes.
Would it help you to refer your notes?
Yes, please.
5243. Is the discussion number?
Is that the Pietz number? Can you take a look at that?
5243. I'm going to hand you what's been marked State's Exhibit 50. Probably faster for you just to look in your own, but, so it's in the record. Does that refresh your memory as to what the measurements were?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So again, just so we can remember. Okay, where did you measure from and to?
Okay, like I said, measured 3 different locations, measuring from the firewall, the brake pedal, and the accelerator pedal.
Okay. Firewall to,
And then the seat base of the front driver's seat was not straight across, it had a little bit of curved shape to it, but was
Okay.
measuring to the base of the seat.
okay, so is the seat face the part where your knees would bend over, where it breaks?
Kind of like where your heel, if you're just sitting in the seat, it would be where your heels would be.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's,
Okay.
yeah.
So can maybe, I'm still not picturing it, can you still, could you indicate on the seat you're sitting on now where the seat face would be?
So the seat bases would be based on, how much curvature is in the seat, that it's going to be right here at the bottom where it connects with the floorboard.
Okay. And so you measured that, you measured the firewall, you measured the brake pedal and the accelerator, is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. So could you just go through those?
Sure, the distance from the firewall to the seat base was 24 inches.
Okay.
And then from the brake pedal to the seat base was 19 and a half inches.
Okay.
And from the accelerator to the base of the seat was 23 inches.
Okay, I'll grab that back from you. Did you use what's been called an alternative light source on the car?
Yes, we did.
And what was that for?
We were looking for potential areas of semen deposition, perhaps potentially if there had been a sexual assault within the car.
And did you find anything of note through that?
No, there were a few areas that did fluoresce with it, but when tested with a presumptive test acid phosphatase, they were negative results.
Okay, presumptive meaning that if it comes out a certain way, it tells you it's a positive result,
Correct.
potentially positive. Did you find any indications of blood in the car?
No, it did test several different reddish brown or brownish stains in different surfaces on the car, and all were negative results.
And on the inside, did you actually take swabs for DNA just like on the outside door handles?
Yes, we did.
Specifically, did you take a swab on the gear shift itself?
Took 2 different swabs on the
Okay.
gear shift.
Where on the gear shift did you take those swabs?
Initially, for the before latency their work, we took a swab for cellular DNA on just the underside surface of the gear shift selector.
Why did you pick the gear shift to swab for DNA?
Whoever drove the car last would have had to touch the gear shift selector to drive the car.
That's the judge's copy. Probably. That's the judge's copy. I can put-
State's Exhibit 51.
Going to hand you what's been marked State's Exhibit 51. Has a couple pictures in it. Could you take a look at those and tell us what they show?
State's Exhibit 51 shows 3 different photos labeled A through C. One shows the gear shift selector knob. Another one shows the steering wheel. And the third one shows the back of the upright for the front passenger seat.
Okay, would those photographs help us to understand your testimony better with regard to where you swabbed and what you saw in the car?
I believe they would.
Okay, I'd offer 51.
No objection.
Okay, let's look at photo A. It's very dark. It's about as good as it gets, so. What are we looking at here?
Looking from the driver's side towards the passenger side, and it's just showing the gear shift selector knob.
And it's difficult to tell from that photo, but can you say how one holds that particular type of gear shift? Where's the button that engages it?
I think on this one, looks like it'd probably be where the thumb is if you're grabbing the knob area, it'd be on the...
Oops, I'm sorry. Okay, oops. Okay. So I'm pointing to the silver area here.
That's where I'm assuming that it is, looks like it.
Okay. So where did you swab on the gear shift itself?
Where you were just putting the silver underneath, so I don't know how well the jury can see that, but just underneath area.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Is this little curvature under the silver thing?
Yeah.
Okay. And then any place else on the gear shift?
And then after the fingerprint people did their processing and did, then we did swabbing of the whole knob area, to the whole surface.
And photograph B, what does that show?
It shows the steering wheel.
Okay. What parts of the steering wheel did you swab?
Before Leighton did their work, it was just swabbed on the inner stitch surface of the perimeter of the steering wheel.
Indicating here the stitching.
Yes.
Why there?
Because that's such a rough area, even if there was a latent print there, it would not be something that could be made identifiable by the latent people. So that was an area that, other than rough, would be a great place to collect DNA, and not an area where a latent print could be identified.
Okay, I guess I should ask you, how is it that DNA would get on something like that? I mean, where does it come from? If a
We're all sloughing DNA all the time. I mean, DNA is coming off of our skin cells and our hair and saliva and sneezing, whatever. So it's just whenever we're touching something, we're transferring something to that, and it's transferring something to us. Principle of Locard's principle of exchange.
Okay, so when you swab it, you're actually literally picking it up,
Yes.
or hoping to. Now, did you swab any other parts of the car that were significant with regard to the dash area, specifically with regard to the wipers?
And other than the gear shift selector and the steering wheel, did the wiper blade knob.
Is that the knob that turns on the wiper blades?
Yes.
I'm going to show you photo C. What does that show?
It is depicting the rear area of the upright for the front passenger seat. And there's all there, and I don't know how well it translates onto the screen, but there's a light tannish brown soil deposits on the back of the seat.
And was that significant to you for some reason?
It was just the soil deposits were rather heavy and just in the rear passenger area of the car. So of significance, and not knowing the prior use of the car seemed like something that had dirt on it was placed in there, because there was dirt on the rear of the seat as well as the rear passenger door frame and gasket and threshold area.
Okay. And did you reach a conclusion based on your experience and training with regard to that dirt and the significance of it in terms of movement in the back seat?
Wasn't really able to determine, directionality based on what was there. I mean, there was some smearing on the seat belt receivers in the rear seat showing movement, but was not able to say, is it just coming in, is it going out, or is it going both ways?
But some movement against the scene
Yes.
with something dirty. Okay. And I would assume in the study that you're not able to say obviously what it was that made the transfer of that dirt.
That's correct.
If I get just a moment. Did you take a sample of that dirt for later analysis?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I have no other questions. Thank you.
Ross?
Your Honor, I'm wondering if the court maybe wants to take a break now.
We can take our afternoon recess.